Is to.
Is not.
Is to.
Is not.
Is to.
Is not. Sally, Billy, what are the two of you arguing about today? You always seem to be bickering over one thing or another.
Professor! We learned about the Columbian Exchange today. All of the wonderful medicines and ideas that were passed between the Old World Europe and the New World Columbus discovered, the United States.
It wasn't the United States yet, and the Columbian Exchange was terrible. Diseases and slavery are not good, and that's what Christopher Columbus caused. Well now, those are both good points, but I think arguing about it won't change either of your opinions. Actually, you know what? I think both of you need to take a deeper look into this if you really want to find the truth.
How do we do that, Professor?
Well, you can start by looking at the reports and studies on the subject. Sorry, Professor, but I don't think that sounds like fun at all. Isn't there a better way to find out about the exchange? Like talking to a teacher or something? Well now, Billy, you'd find that most people have a favored position. Just like the two of you do, Billy. Many people are opinionated about the exchange. And maybe have just as little information as you two do. Wait, I have an idea. Why don't we just use my Parith, or place and relative time and history machine? You know, a time machine of sorts, and see this stuff firsthand. Okay, here it is. Now, remember not to touch any buttons, especially that big red button in the middle.
Is that the self-destruct button?
No, silly. It's an emergency shutoff, in case something goes wrong, so don't touch it. Strap yourselves in now, kids. We've got science to do. Here we are, Jamestown. Wait a minute, hold on. There's more log cabins than teepees here. I thought the Indians lived in teepees.
Some Native Americans lived in teepees, sure, but not all. Besides, the professor said this is Jamestown, where the English lived. But why here, and not near a Native American tribe, Professor? I thought we were learning about what the Native Americans got from the Old World travelers.
Sorry, Sally, but most of the Old World, well, most of what the Old World brought to the New World was really to help Europe in one way or another. What do you mean? Well, some introduced plants, like sugarcane or oranges, that grew better in the Americas than they did in the Old World. So Europeans brought them over, and they brought over crops that would bring them money.
By shipping them back to the Old World in greater amounts than they could have made before.
Exactly. See, this is what I'm talking about. The Columbian Exchange was all just to make money. Perhaps so, Billy, perhaps so. But no one would say they were doing anything wrong. Well, mostly. That'll be later, though.
But what things do Native Americans get out of the exchange, Professor?
Well, when the Spanish came over, they brought horses. From these horses, some Native Americans became excellent riders, and these horses provide many advantages to their life, such as hunting buffalo and having a greater mode of transportation and travel. Okay, but since we know the Columbian Exchange was so one-sided, it's definitely a bad thing, right? I mean, these European guys got way more out of it than Native Americans. Don't be so quick to judge now, though, Billy. Now, Billy, you haven't yet seen the discoveries that the Europeans found here in the Old World. You'd be surprised how popular the New World was.
Really, Professor? It was that good?
Why, potatoes from the Andes were so popular in Ireland that they became the favorite food of Ireland for years to come. Years and years. Potatoes were so easy to grow and were so full of vitamins. The tomato, that's another great example of what the Europeans got from the Americas. Tomatoes sound great. Even yams were considered a major crop in some African societies. Yams also hail from South America.
Wow! The old world had a lot of neat things to give to Europe.
It sure does. Okay, Professor, I guess there are some good things that came out of the Columbian Exchange. But does that mean it was also good? Hold on the questions of morality, Billy, until we get to the end of the ride. Till we figure out really what's going on here.
Where are we now? It looks like the rainforest.
That's because it is, Sally. We're actually currently in the Congo. Why are we here? Because of malaria, one of the biggest obstacles to the expansion of Europeans into Africa. Wait, doesn't that come from mosquitoes? Like the West Nile virus? Yes, Billy, but far more deadly. Without proper treatment, nearly all people who contact malaria die. For this reason, Europeans had a very hard time coming into parts of Africa until a new method of bypassing malaria could be devised.
Hey, stopping malaria is one of the effects of quinine. Native Americans used the canoga bark for lots of medicines, but one of the chemicals inside it, quinine, proved to be a good antimalarial drug, and so Europeans took it when they came back from the Americas, right?
Exactly. Exploration of the American traditional medicines allowed other explorers to explore parts of the African center. Without drugs such as quinine and others found from these native medicines, parts of Africa would still be unexplored today. But wait, if they found a drug to combat malaria, then why does the news talk about malaria all the time? Well, you see, Billy, quinine was never really a part of African culture. Rather, Africans tended to live in dry areas with houses on stilts to minimize their exposure to these mosquitoes carrying malaria. However, once the Europeans explored Africa, they really divided up the best lands between themselves and forced the African people to live in the malaria-prone areas in high population densities. So really, malaria began to flourish once again.
That's terrible! What? Terrible!
But couldn't we just give quinine to places with a lot of malaria? Wouldn't that fix the problem, Professor? Well, that's a story for another time, Billy. But for now, we should really return to Jamestown. There were other medicines that Indians had. What about them?
They were used too, Billy. Chocolate, coca, tobacco.
Tobacco is actually why we're here in Jamestown. Without it, the United States of America probably would have never gotten off the ground. Tobacco was popular enough to make a permanent colony in America, a lucrative possibility. And that's good, right? Well, they had to go somewhere.
So they moved Native Americans away.
Or they killed them, remember? Jeez, what a horrible thing to do. Let's discuss this somewhere else now, kids. I'm sorry, Sally, but this is the part of the trip where I bring up the bad, explicitly the bad parts of the Columbian Exchange. Like diseases. Yes, diseases. Smallpox in particular wiped out nearly 80 to 90% of Native Americans. Europeans and Americans had no resistance to the diseases from one another. Their immune systems were not ready to cope with the quick changes. But Europeans were in contact with Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Africa through trade, and had a greater history of epidemic, so their immune systems were greater adjusted to one another than those of the Native Americans.
So the Native Americans had no epidemics to speak of, and they had no defenses.
That's right. and they were caught unaware by the smallpox coming from Europe.
It is your fault my people are dying. You have used witchcraft to poison us. To what end? You worked my people to the bone to grow your crops, and now you do not need us? Do your slaves understand the terrors you have unleashed here? Surely their families weep for them and think them lost forever. They will never see their homeland again. All this for a pound of tobacco?
Well, golly, Professor. Is that really it all? Is that what happened? Yeah, people were parts of the exchange too, you know. The pilgrims, slaves too, though, were brought over to work tobacco fields and other cash crops.
And yet my time has come. It is too late for you to apologize. Making noises of mourning do not help the millions who have died to your witchcraft. You may justify your actions with results. You have our food, our medicines, our cultures, but you could have had so much more if only you had decided to come peacefully. We would have gladly traded with you our knowledge for your knowledge, but you have lost that chance, lost it and 1,000 others when you killed my people and stripped them of their purpose. Go now, leave. I do not need the pity of a conqueror.
Okay, I want to stop. Let's just go home, Professor.
Come on, Billy. It's time to leave. Well, geez. I guess I was right, Sally. Sorry for bringing it up, though. I mean, it's pretty sad that these people all died, but it was worth it for all the benefits, right? I mean, well, talk to you tomorrow.
Is that it then, Professor?
That is mostly it, Sally. It seems that even though things were bad at the time and that people got hurt, that in the end, the benefits of sharing our cultures greatly outweigh the negative.
Okay.
I don't think it'll change your mind right now, but I believe that is a good idea to think about what we've learned today. A lot of the good things of the Columbian Exchange are around today. The medicine, the food, the animals, the culture, the people. The idea of everyone in the world trading products and ideas is a good thing. No matter how bad it was at the time, or the negative consequences of the original interactions, the Columbian Exchange was definitely a good thing.